What's the worst Christmas present you have received? My husband's stepmother gave me, a 36-year-old at the time, a kindergarten-sized backpack, and when I opened it she said, "I actually bought that for a child a few years ago, and she hated it so I threw it in a closet, and I saw it and thought you'd like it." None of us did. We all think it's ugly. That same year they gave my 3 kids gifts, totaling altogether $15 with the clearance stickers on them, while her biological granddaughter opened a $300 unicorn, which they made sure we knew cost $300, and then they pointed out to everyone our clearance stickers and what great deals they were. They weren't. And then they made my kids leave the room so the granddaughter could take pics alone with her unicorn. It was the last Christmas we visited them, lol. When I was 12 I bought myself a Kindle. Me and my sister spent an entire summer working for our grandpa and stepdad to save up for them, each of us spending about $200. My mom got all 3 of my brothers a Kindle for Christmas, and I got some clothes from Old Navy. I was livid, and when I talked to my mom about it, she told me that my sister and I had been excluding our brothers from hanging out while we played video games, and it was unfair. She never apologized or saw anything wrong with what she did, and I honestly still haven't forgiven her almost a decade later. Nothing. And not because I'm ungrateful or anything. We went to my dad's side of the family for Christmas, like we had done every year for 17 previous years. And because I had turned 18 a few months prior, everyone decided I didn't get a gift from anyone. And I still don't understand why. Every other one of my cousins older or younger than 18 got something from someone, and I just sat there awkwardly. My parents had brought presents for all of my cousins, and those weren't the only gifts they got, and I just simply got nothing. It's not like nobody knew we were coming, or anything either. I never will understand it. And everyone acted like nothing was wrong. When the Tamagotchi craze was in full swing, my siblings and I asked for one. My sisters both got one, and I got a jacket, because mine was torn up and small. When I asked my dad why I didn't get one, and if Santa thought I did something bad that year, he told me I was too old for Santa and needed to learn life isn't fair. I was 8. My sisters were 7 and 5. From that point forward, I only ever received clothing. The time I was really into Green Day and the emerging alternative music of the mid-90s, and my mom bought me a few CDs, back when CDs were something stupid like $20 each. Wow. Awesome gift. Except the CDs were Toni Braxton and Mariah Carey, and something else I've completely forgotten. Or the Christmases, when my brother would get a pile of presents. Or something pretty expensive, foosball table, air hockey table, etc. And I'd get a couple books and lip gloss. I love those things. So the gifts themselves weren't bad, but I was clearly not the favored child. In the aftermath of gift opening, Mom would look at the pile my brother got, and the few gifts I got, then make a big show of stomping around the house, claiming she knows she got more for me. She must have misplaced all the other gifts. Without fail, for several years in a row, she misplaced my gifts, because she realized in the moment that she spent way more on my brother than me. Never once did she find these misplaced gifts. And to make it worse, my birthday is shortly after Christmas, so I never got much for my birthday, because the budget was blown on Christmas. My brother claims he remembers me getting shitty birthday gifts, and I was always jealous of his. I don't have any memory of that, but it very well could be. The worst birthday was the year I only got a Bible with my name stamped on the front in gold lettering. That's a birthday I remember quite clearly. When I was 8, I loved Pokémon. One Christmas my family was opening presents, and we started getting towards the end, when the big present would be opened. My mom got excited and handed me a present. I open it, and it's the official strategy guide for Pokémon Yellow. I get ridiculously excited. I don't own a Game Boy. I love Pokémon, and I'm getting a Game Boy and the game where freaking Pikachu follows you around. Then I see my dad's face. He's very concerned. He knows what's going on. I'm not getting a Game Boy. I was never getting a Game Boy. I just got a book with a Pokémon on the front of it, because my mom doesn't understand video games. This wasn't the only devastating present from her. One year she bought dog treats and put them in our stockings, thinking they were regular cookie biscuit things. I was 12 and my brother was 9, and we thought we were getting a puppy. My mom shouldn't be allowed to buy presents. I gave my grandmother a potato masher for Christmas last year as a joke. She downsized and moved into a small apartment when I was leaving for college. She gave me a bunch of stuff, including kitchen utensils and the like. Then a few months later, she was looking for her potato masher. Apparently it's the best potato masher ever. I told her she gave it to me, and she was convinced she would never give away her precious potato masher. Whatever. I kept the damn thing. So for 5 years, she would bring it up occasionally. I would tell her have it, and she would kind of shrug it off. So last year, I wrapped it up all kinds of beautiful with ribbons, and what have you, and I gave it back to her. I swear, that was the happiest I've ever seen her. She could never love anything, or anyone more than that potato masher. It was a pretty shitty masher, to be honest. A few years ago my aunt gave me a rock. She gave presents to me and my 2 older cousins and said it's time for the big girls to open their gifts. She made my cousins go first, and they got scarves, and I opened my present and pulled a rock out of the package and looked up waiting for her to laugh, and she said, "Isn't it wonderful?" So I had to be like, "Yeah, I love it." She then told me that she had dug it out of her garden the previous summer, and she knew that I would think it is so cool. The following year she gave me acorn tops, because some people know how to use them to whistle, and I don't know how to show you or explain, but I'm sure you can figure it out. She's a tad eccentric. Both were pretty terrible presents. I got a Barney raincoat, unfortunately the correct size. I was a small kid and very sensitive to being called younger than my age, for Christmas from a distant aunt when I was 9. My 5-year-old little sister got a matching one. She was much more excited about it than me. My mom forced me to wear it to school, and was completely shocked that I was viciously mocked 4 weeks afterwards, despite me telling her that was exactly what would happen. So I was dating a guy for a few months. When Christmas rolled around, he had recently started a new job that required travel, and this was before smartphones and built-in GPS in your car were common. So I splurged a bit and got him a Garmin to help him find his way. Thoughtful, useful, but not too sentimental. It felt perfect for where the relationship was at the time. Due to schedules, we couldn't get together until a few days after Christmas. In my haste to go see him, I walked right out the door without his gift. I didn't realize it until I got to his house, and I felt terrible, but he said, "No worries, I'll give you your gifts now, and I'll just get mine later." Cool. So he goes into the other room, and comes back with 2 wrapped gifts. I noticed some of the paper was messed up, like it had been rewrapped, but didn't think much of it in the moment. I carefully unwrapped the first package. It was a MMA magazine that had clearly been read. I was confused. I do not like MMA. Not even a little bit. Nor have I ever expressed interest in MMA. Not once. He, on the other hand, loved all things MMA. Trying to move on, I politely thanked him, set the magazine down, and refocused on the next gift. I could tell it was a DVD, from the shape of the package, and indeed, it was a DVD, a Forrest Gump DVD, with the cellophane wrapper missing. Now don't get me wrong, Forrest Gump is a solid choice, except I already owned a Forrest Gump DVD, and now here I was suddenly the proud owner of a second copy that appeared used. I again thanked him and sat there quietly, trying to wrap my head around how he could have arrived at the conclusion that a used magazine on a topic I didn't like and a second-hand DVD of something I already owned would make for good Christmas gifts. He also got a little quiet, then sheepishly volunteered, I got bored, so I watched the movie yesterday. I just stared, and then I hadn't seen that issue yet, so I went ahead and read through it. I think you'll really like it, I slowly responded. So, you got me a magazine because you wanted to read it, and then watch the movie you got for me because you were bored. His only response was, well, yeah, I guess so. I left not long after. The next day, I returned the garment for a full refund. About a week later, he called and said he didn't think it was working out. No problem, I said. I don't think it's working out either. As we were wrapping up the call, expressing well wishes and all that, he paused for a beat and said, hey, were you still going to give me that Christmas present? Too long, didn't read. A magazine that had been read, and a used Forrest Gump DVD. This was actually a recent one. Been with my girlfriend for like 2 to 3 years now. Her family considers me a part of their family, but my girlfriend's mom and aunt are probably the most hypocritical and batshit insane people you could ever meet. Aunt believes that if you use a GPS, you are a bitch that doesn't deserve to live in that state. She proceeded to get everyone lost when she was driving us around on vacation. She lives in Florida for 27 years by that time. The mom is a manipulative narcissist that actually said to my girlfriend and a mutual friend of ours that the only reason he has my girlfriend around is because she is the person that she uses to let our anger out on, yells about nonsensical crap, pushes her, or makes her feel like she's worth nothing 24/7. For Christmas, I went over to my girlfriend's home to celebrate with them before celebrating with my girlfriend at my house. Got a present from the aunt who sent something over. I received a single rubber duck that had the bottom torn out. A note was stuffed in the opening, and on that note was the sentence, if you are reading this, you killed the birdie, and a painted rock that was just painted black with the words best buds on it. The mom was the worst one though. I got a nutcracker. I didn't fully understand it at the time, but I finally got it when my girlfriend's dad took me aside and said in a hushed tone, I'm sorry for the gift, but Trey has given that to eldest daughter's boyfriends as a threat. That's right. I got a broken rubber duck that blamed me for killing it, a painted rock, and a threat that if I did anything to hurt my girlfriend more than what the mom already does, that her mother will use the nutcracker. One year, I got what was actually a super cool present. My parents had worked 4 months putting together this awesome art kit. It was a big toolbox filled with good scissors, glue, paint, colored pencils, glitter, and every other thing a crafty little kid could want. The problem was, every time they would go upstairs to add to it, they had a running joke where they would say, we're going upstairs to feed your present, or we need to take your present for a walk TTT. So of course on Christmas morning, instead of being a little kid who was stoked to get a huge box of art supplies, I was a little kid who was devastated that I didn't get a puppy. My sister's father. I wanted Pokemon Sapphire or Ruby so bad for Christmas. It was the only thing I asked for. A few days before Christmas, he came home with a GBA cartridge, wrapped in wrapping paper, and set it on one of the Christmas tree branches. He said you can't open it until Christmas. Excitedly so my 3rd grade brain assumed he had gotten what I asked for. Christmas Day comes and I open it immediately to see Ice Age 2, the meltdown staring at me. It was the first time I faked liking a present. For those wondering, I did indeed get the game a year later. My mom's good friend bought a used version of Sapphire for me. One time when I was 10, my mum gave me and my brother a packet of plastic rainbow bendy straws each for Christmas. She was mad at our dad for having brought us back 3 days late from his part of the holidays and took it out on us. Being a contrary soul, I happily took my brother's discarded pack and proceeded to make a million rainbow flutes that I would incessantly try to learn to play for the next 2 months. I suspect she lived to regret her choice, since I also never cleaned any of my discarded flutes up. An ex gave me an engagement ring for herself, on the idea that I would use it to propose to her. She also gave specific instructions on how and when I should do it, as well as stipulations that she would be the one planning our wedding. We had a terrible relationship, and I had been planning on breaking up with her right after the holidays, which I did. I couldn't understand how she thought we were even close to being on the same page. And once it was all over, I realized the obvious, and what everyone was trying to tell me for 3 years. I was in an abusive relationship. Still, who the hell buys a ring for someone to give back to them? It's just bad gifting. Worst was from my grandparents. Me, my brother and dad all got a used book each from a charity shop. Like the cover was bent and pages yellowed. My brother and dad have barely read any books in their lives, and mine was some adult drama romance novel. I was about 12 at the time that nobody has ever heard of by some author nobody knows. To top it off, these grandparents were ridiculously wealthy. My granddad was making almost $2 million a year, and their other grandchild got a PS3, which had just came out, and big stack of games to go with it, plus other toys and some clothes. I was 8 or 9. I really wanted one of those Furbies who were really popular back in the days. Come Christmas, my aunt is all proud to give me my present, hyping me it's something I really wanted. Then I open it and it's a Plushies Furby keychain. I don't remember much, but I was told my face fell when I saw it, though I was raised to not complain about receiving gifts. So, when she asked me, "You don't like it?" I forcefully and badly smiled, reassuring her that yes, I liked it and I was just surprised. I even put it on my jacket zipper to prove my point. Turned out it was a joke, and she did get me a real Furby that she gifted me after. But still, the immediate disappointment was something hard to hide. A case of Slim Fast. Was I overweight? Yes, but my not so passive-aggressive ex-sister-in-law was a bitch. She fairly soon after was talking about weight loss items, and specifically told my then wife and I we should never use products like Slim Fast as they will poison you. I can't decide if she was trying to kill me or was just a stupid asshole. My extended family used to do this thing where you'd put your name on a piece of paper and put it in a hat, then draw someone out, and that's who you'd get a gift for. It was supposed to be anonymous. I got 2 terrible gifts on consecutive years. The first terrible gift was a DVD of Fast and Furious 3. I'd literally never watched even a second of those movies, and I'm pretty sure the franchise was up to like episode 4 or 5 at that point. The very next year, someone got me a cheap pair of fake leather driving gloves. They were about 2 sizes too small. So me, not being a car guy at all, has somehow convinced my uncles and aunts that I'm secretly a Tokyo Drift racer or something. The year after that, my mom got my name. You're supposed to put the name back if it's immediate family. But she kept my name, knowing I got screwed 2 years running. She got me a Kindle Fire. I was 6 years old, and I really wanted an electric train set. I was like Ralphie in A Christmas Story, harping on about his BB gun that he wanted. The big day arrives, and there's a large box that looked pretty close to electric train set size, but my parents would dictate in which order the presents were opened, and of course it was saved for last. I don't remember the other gifts, but I do remember the big electric train set sized box. I'll give you a hint. It wasn't an electric train set. It was a box filled with sweaters and socks. No joke. Just what a 6-year-old boy wants. Sweaters and socks. Worst part was that the person giving me this wanted to see me model the sweaters, and my parents forced me to. Yes, because a 6-year-old boy with his heart set on an electric train set really wants to be disappointed and have to model sweaters he didn't want in the first place. Office supplies. I was in the 2nd grade. It was the class gift exchange. Imagine being a kid, watching everyone else open dolls and cars, and glitter pens, while you're sitting there with a calculator, tape dispenser, and stapler. Apparently, the girl who drew my name was in the hospital a lot, and her parents just grabbed things from the gift shop. No idea why a teddy bear wasn't on the list. I ended up giving everything to my nana, since she was a teacher. I was working a dead-end job making less than $1,600 a mo, and my long-term girlfriend at the time wanted a Tiffany & Co. pearl necklace, which costs over $1,000. I starved myself for 3 months to save up for that necklace, and she was beyond ecstatic to receive it. Her gift to me, she hands me a Starbucks holiday mug with a receipt from 10 minutes prior. I didn't want to get you a gift because being with me should be enough, but I found it in my heart to get you something small for Xmas. I have a story within a story. In my family, large, exciting gifts get bespoke riddles, clues leading on a hunt culminating in the gift. One year, I drew a sister of mine in the exchange who hates frogs, so I purchased her a pair of well-made, stylish scarves as she was about to move to a colder part of the nation. I also bought her perhaps the most grotesque frog-shaped coffee mug I have ever seen in my life, and then I wrote out a 5-step scavenger hunt to the mug. As I was setting everything up on Christmas Eve, I was telling my dad about what I was doing. He laughed, but then he got a little somber. He then told me about the gift he gave his youngest sister for her 5th Christmas. It was a gigantic box, beautifully wrapped. In it, he carefully laid pastel tissue paper. As she peeled back layer after layer, her excitement became palpable. The tension was building. What could it be? It was a single piece of nickel gum. She was absolutely crushed. I'll never forget how badly I hurt her. So just keep that in mind. In spite of his warning, I didn't feel too bad. I'd gotten her a real gift too, after all. So Christmas morning arrived, and, as fate would have it, this same sister drew my name for the gift. It was a decent-sized box, maybe 8 by 10 by 4 inches. It was heavy, but not noisy. There were many things on my list that would have been a good fit in that box, so I opened it. It was an Amazon box. Within it, another, wrapped, box. I opened it. Another slightly smaller wrapped box. Inside that one, several rocks embedded in a tissue nest, and another, wrapped, box. I opened that one to find a packet of duct tape. At that point, I just looked at my dad. He starting laughing and finally choked out. Forget about that story. My gift ended up being a gift card, which was plenty and appreciated, and she got a kick out of her frog mug, even if it only gets used by her husband to creep her out.